Hi, my name is Rickard, and I'm going to show you a few tricks in Photoshop that'll help you create images like this.
Let's get started. So I'm going to go to File, Open, and these are the assets we're going to be using, and you can find these in the description of the video. There's a link. So let's start with our main image here, which I got off of pexels.com. And first thing I want to do is change the aspect ratio to square. So to do that, I'm going to go to the crop tool, which is C on your keyboard. And here I can choose the ratio. I'm going to pick square, and I'm going to bring that up here and up here. So we have the image at the bottom of our square. There you go. Next, I'm going to do File, Open again, and I'm going to open this image here. This is going to be our sky at the top. So let's go here, just select the top of this. Do Command C, and then Command V to paste. Let's put that under. Let's call this stars. And then you can hit V to go back on your move tool. I'm going to do free transform, just Command T, and hold Shift so that the proportions stay the same. Just drag that out to the edges there and then bring that to the top. There you go. And I'm going to add a mask to this layer here. Go on my gradient tool. I want it to be on foreground, which is black, to transparent. And just do a gradient from the top right down to where about the mountain starts. That's going to get rid of that hard edge there. And then I'm going to go on my brush tool and select a soft brush, relatively large, not quite that big. Let's do 1000 pixels. That's about good. And let's put the opacity of the brush to 100. Just kind of paint out the sky here. And I'm also going to add a new layer at the bottom, and I want to fill that with black. So I want my foreground color to be black, so I'm going to hit D on the keyboard, and that's going to default to black and white there. And then we can go to Edit, Fill, and we're going to fill with the foreground color. There you go. That way when I get down to here, you can see where my sky ends there, my stars. So what we're going to do is we're going to just copy this layer, Command J, just drag that down to there, add a gradient to that, add a mask to that, go to G for gradient, just so that we have one consistent sky there. Good, that looks pretty good. All right, next thing I want to do, this needs to be a little bit better in terms of the seam there. So to do that, I'm holding Command and the space bar, by the way, to scrub zoom. Let's make, and then if you hold down Control and Option and scrub left and right, you can change dynamically change the size of your brush. Let's just go a little closer here. Yeah. All right, for our purposes, that's going to be good enough. Now I'm going to go on the gradient again, and this time I'm going to change my foreground color to white. Go on a radial, just kind of do a radial from there, just so that we have a little bit more of a, doesn't look so cut out there. And that looks pretty good. Okay, good. All right, now I'm going to do File Open again, and our last one is this moon image. So let's open that. Let's go to the elliptical marquee tool. Let's select about where the center is, and then start dragging out. And I'm going to hold Option and Shift. And what that's going to do, the Shift will keep the circle a proper circle, and the Option will make my selection come out from the center. There you go. Don't mind my dog walking in the background. Okay. Now you can see it's not quite on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right mouse click on the selection and go down to Transform Selection. Now holding Shift, just going to bring this edge right in so that we have a perfect circle around the moon. And I'm going to nudge it down with the down arrow. That looks pretty good. All right, let's do Command C. We can close this. And we can also close this. We're not going to need that anymore. All right, and then Command V. So there you go. We now have our circle. You can see as I move it, Smart Guides is telling me when it's in the center of the image there. All right, now I'm going to make this just a tiny bit smaller. So Command T is free transform. Let's make it about that big. Good. All right, next thing I'm going to do is, let's change this to moon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this, drag it under, and call this sun. Let's turn off moon for now. And I want to fill this with white. So let's make my foreground color white. Lock the transparency. Edit, fill, foreground color. There you go. Let's unlock the transparency. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to basically blur this, but we're going to blur it numerous times. So let's make a copy, Command J, and then go Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And we're going to start with a pretty low number. Let's say 10. And then we're going to copy it again and blur it again. And this time we're going to double the amount of blur. So let's do 20. Make another copy. And we're going to double it to 40. Make another copy. Double it again to 80. Make another copy. And we're just going to keep doing this. Now you'll notice I've made a keyboard shortcut for the Gaussian blur, which is Option Shift Command G. So rather than going here on the menu every time, I'm just going to use this from now on. All right, so we're at 80. Let's double it again to 160. Command J to make a copy. I'm going to use my shortcut to bring up Gaussian blur again. And we're going to double this one more time to 320. And there you go. All right, now I'm going to take all these except for my first one. So this was blurred 10, and then all these were blurred more. And I'm going to select all those and then do merge selected. Merge layers, Command E. I'm going to call this big blur and small blur. And now on the big blur, I'm going to do image adjustment, hue saturation. This is also a nice way to make lightsabers, just for future reference. We're going to hit colorize, change the color to like a blue color, turn up the saturation, and then bring down the darkness just a bit. So now we're getting that blue color. I'm going to hit OK and turn that on screen. All right, then our moon, I'm going to do an image adjustment on that as well. I'm going to use black and white and add a tint of blue. There you go. And then I'm going to add a layer, fill the layer with black. So I'm going to switch those, and the shortcut for that is X. That'll switch your foreground and background color. So I want the foreground color to be black. And I'm going to hold Option and Delete to fill the entire layer with black. And then by holding Option between the two layers, I'm going to put that on top of the moon. Now, I just want a tiny bit of that moon texture showing through, like honestly, just the tiniest bit. So let's put this on like 95. That's going to be about enough. Okay. Now, when you look at an eclipse, you'll notice that you see a lot of rays coming out of it. So that's what we're going to do next, is we're going to add those rays. So I'm going to select the sun layer, and I want some guides that show me exactly where the center of this is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Command T for transform, and then Command R to bring up my ruler, and then just drag out a ruler, and you're going to see it's going to snap to the center, which is why I did the transform. And let's turn on our rulers here. Show guides. And why are they not showing? Oops. There you go. All right, and let's drag that. Good. And let's get rid of that transform. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new layer. We're going to call this rays. And this is where we're going to use some settings on the gradient tool that aren't often used. So let's click on our gradients here, and we're going to change the gradient type from solid to noise, and we're going to restrict colors. The restricting colors kind of just, you see how there's a spot of light and spot of dark? It kind of avoids that and makes it a little more consistent. Now I actually don't want color, I want this to be black and white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to HSB and take the saturation down to 0. So now it's black and white, and now I'm going to randomize until I get a gradient that doesn't have too many hard whites or hard blacks. So that looks pretty good right there. So let's hit OK. And then I want to use this gradient type right here, which is the angle gradient. Now, putting the start of the gradient right in the center, I'm just going to hold Shift and drag out. But really it doesn't matter. So long as you're in the center, wherever you go, it's going to make kind of this radial, or this light rays from that center point. So there you go, that looks good. All right, now I'm going to go to channels, hold down Command and select that. So now I have that as a selection. Now I'm going to go in Big Blur and add a mask. And all of a sudden we have those nice rays. So let's turn off our guides. The shortcut for turning off your guides is Command semicolon. There you go. Okay, so that looks quite good. And let's make a copy of this. So we have a little bit more. And let's take the opacity down just a bit. And I'm going to hold down Option and click here, turn back on my gradient, go back to my gradient tool and just make a new gradient so that we have some slight variation there. Okay, so now we have kind of the basics there of our eclipse. I'm going to turn the guides back off, Command semicolon. Now, when you look at an eclipse, you have these kind of spots that come out of the edge and are kind of like hot spots around. So to fake that, I'm going to go ahead and add a layer right on top of all my background, fill that with black, Option Delete. And I'm going to take this black layer and put it on 100% for right now. And then at the very top, I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm going to merge visible, which is Shift Command D, but that will basically take all my layers and flatten them out, which I don't want. So if I hold Shift Option Command D, it'll do the same thing, but it'll leave all my layers alone. So again, that's Shift Option Command E. So now I have a copy of everything, but it's on one layer. Now I'm going to do a levels on that layer. Basically bring it down like this. I want to kind of just get those that rim there. Right about there. Now, it's that information that I want is right now only in the blue channel. So what I can do is I can go to the blue channel, Command A to select all, Command C, go back to RGB, and then Command V, and that'll paste my blue channel on its own layer here. So there you go, I now have those highlights. Now what I want to do is erase all the black. So to do that, I'm going to go back to channels, hold down Command, select. That's going to select just the white. Now I can take these two layers, delete them, add a new layer, and then fill that with white. So let's make white our foreground color. Option, delete. And there you go. We now have that strong edge there. Let's put this back to 95% and turn that off. There you go. All right, now what I'm going to do is similar thing to what I did here, but with this layer here. So let's call this, I don't know, rim flares. Oops. Rim flares. Okay, so let's make a copy, and we're going to Gaussian blur that. And let's start with 10. And we're going to quickly do this. It's the same as what I did with the moon. So I'm going to copy the layer, Command J, and then Gaussian blur it, and just do that over and over, and each time increase the amount of the Gaussian blur. Oops. What was that last one? 40, 80, 160, I guess. And let's do 240 actually. There you go. Okay, good. All right, then I'm going to copy all of them except for my first one. Merge those, Command E. Go to color. Get like a blue color there. And darken that up a bit. And then put it on screen. Good. I'm going to put all these into a folder. So I'm going to select them all, click on the group icon, and then add a mask to the group. And then I want to copy this mask up onto that group. So to do that, I'm going to hold down Command and Option and just drag that mask to there. Replace layer mask, yes. And now I'm going to select the layer mask and curve it so that my white point is up here. About there, that looks good. But I don't want the rays coming in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my first sun blur here. And with my layer mask selected, I'm going to fill that selection with white, like that. And I also don't want so much of that light coming in here. So I'm going to go onto my gradient, switch this back to foreground to transparent, go on a radial gradient, turn my guides back on, make my color black there, and then start from the center here. Just go, I'm going to do that a few times. And there you go, that looks good. Okay, good. And it's a little too strong for my liking, so I'm going to take the opacity down just a bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, next thing I want to do is add just the sun peeking out right at the top here. So I'm going to go File Open and open this yellow flare. And let's Command A, Command C, and Command V. So there you go. And the first thing I want to do is just make this straight. So let's turn our guides back on and do Command T for transform. And let's just line this line here up with our guide so we know it's perfectly horizontal. There you go. And also going to cut off this excess black here. So I think the easiest way to do that is just make a selection around it, Command J, throw away the old one. Okay, good. So now let's put that on screen. Let's put it to right. So let's put it here because it's going to be easier to do from here, and then we can always move where it is after the fact. So now I want it to kind of wrap around. So to do that, I'm going to do Command T. Whoops, that was Command Y. Command T. And I do want that centered. So I'm going to hit Escape, get another selection, and hold Option so it comes out from the center. Just go right to the left edge there and do Command J again, throw away the old one. What that's going to do is when I do Command T, the center of my flare is going to be in the center of my selection, which is what I want. Now I'm going to go to this here, which is the warp tool. I'm going to go down to Arc. I'm going to increase the bend. Let's do 80. Hit OK on that. And let's go back on our Move tool, move that down to there, and then do another Command T. Move my anchor point to the center, and then hold down Option and just scale that down. About there, and then I can just bring in the side as well. I'm still holding Option. Good, now you have these little things here. I'm going to fix that by clicking on this again. But rather than using one of the preset warps, I'm going to use custom and just drag this end in and drag this end in. There you go. Now I have that flare following the contours of that circle there. That looks pretty good. Now what I can do is do another Command T, move my anchor point to the center, and then I can rotate it. Now you'll see it's rotating around the sun. And I want it to be like right about there where we have that light spot already. Let's put it there. And let's call this sun, peaking sun, let's say. I'm going to make a copy of this, Command J, and put it underneath the sun there. So we have a little bit coming out here, but more there. And I'm going to take this and blur it. And because I have my shortcut for blur, Shift, Option, Command G. And let's set that to 45. Good. So looks pretty good. Let's turn off our guides. Command semicolon. Next thing I want to do is on my sky down here, I'm going to add a levels. And if we look at the graph here, you can see let's see if I can make this bigger so it's more obvious. I'll detach it here. Yeah. It's not showing much more. Okay, so but you can see here where the black point starts, and what I want to do is I want to take this and bring that to where my black point is starting, which is right about there. And it's going to make the whole sky darker. Good. Let's put that back there. And then actually, let's see what it looks like if I add it there. That actually looks better. I'm going to add it on top of this background layer as well. Good. Now, this heavy highlight on the mountain doesn't really make sense, so we're going to get rid of that. And to do that, I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to turn off levels for now. I'm going to zoom in here, go on my brush tool, and select kind of a blue color from one of these mountains. So right about there looks good, and just paint over these highlighted areas. Good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put this on darken. What that's going to do is it's only going to affect those areas that are lighter than this color. But now obviously that creates this kind of clipped look, which isn't great. So to fix that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click here on the layer and blend if on underlying layer. I'm going to bring up the white. Now you can see some of that white peeking out. And what I'm going to do is hold down Option, break this. Actually, this isn't what I want to do. I'm going to cancel that. I'm actually just going to take the opacity down just so that we get some of that detail back in there. So around 80% I think looks good. There you go. Let's turn our levels back on. And then I want to add some darkness around here. So let's add another layer. Let's put it above. I'm going to go on my gradient tool, default my colors, so hit D on the keyboard so that my foreground color is black. And just add a gradient in here, here. No, I don't want that. Sorry. Didn't realize I was still on the radial gradient. So let's go back to there. Go on linear gradient. Let's try that again. There you go. That's what I want. That looks pretty good. All right, then the last thing I want to do, or one of the last things, is I'm going to add a gradient map to the whole image. I'm going to click on this, and this is a great way to color grade an image quickly. And what I'm going to do is on the left color here, which is what is affecting the dark areas, I'm going to give it kind of like a cyan-y blue color, about like that. And then for the highlight areas, I'm going to give it kind of a yellow color. But if I do it too bright, it's going to affect the luminosity of the image, which I don't want. I want it to affect the color only. So I'm going to make, even though it's this yellow color, I'm going to make it kind of a dark version of that yellow color. So this is turning into a really ugly mustard color, but really all we're paying attention to at this point is the hue. So we want that kind of yellowish color, but we want it about in the middle of this color picker. So we're not getting it too dark or too light. So right about the middle there, and that's about a good spot. And also we want to make sure our blue's about in the middle as well. So right about there. Good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on soft light. You're going to see when I turn that on and off how it's affecting the image. It's just kind of giving this nice grade to it. Obviously this image is quite dark, so it's mostly affecting the dark areas. Now what we can do is we can adjust this gradient by dragging this point. You can see how that affects the image. You can see this just became a little warmer by dragging that midpoint around. So let's drag it to about 35%. Good. All right, now we're kind of getting rid of too much of the sun flares coming out from under there. So I'm just going to go on a big brush. I want it to be black, and on the map, the generated map on this gradient, what I'm going to do is just kind of paint right around there, so we're getting a little bit more of those flares coming back in. Now, I also wouldn't mind the flares to be a little more pronounced. So what I can do is I can go on the mask there and do Command M for curve. Just kind of bring in both ends of this curve toward our colored area here. You're going to see that's making those rays more pronounced. There you go. Let's hit OK on that. And let's also, while we're at it, just knock out some of this rim lighting. So on brush, black brush, just hit a few of those areas out. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is, we have this nice warm color here, and I want that kind of warm color to also be in this light coming from his head here, so we get that kind of unified color combination there. Right now it's a little too lime green. So to do that, I'm going to add a color balance. I'm going to zoom in here, and I basically want to add to the midtones, I want to add some red. Obviously this is affecting the whole image. We're not going to worry about that quite yet because we're just going to mask that. And then in the highlights, I'm going to add a little bit of yellow, and in the shadows, add some more red as well. Good. So now let's fill our whole mask with black. So Shift Delete fills with the foreground color. And then go back on a brush, hit X so that my brush is white. Make my brush a bit smaller, and then just paint this light area there. There you go. So we now get that kind of nice color reference, and we can also actually make this just go a little bit further like that. And there you go. That pretty much finishes the composition.
Please subscribe to my channel. If you've got any questions or any comments, leave them down below. Happy Photoshopping.